Usually when we do a car review, we tell you a little bit about the car, and then at the end we come to some kind of conclusion. This time, let's flip it. That's the Mazda3, and it's really great. In fact, it might very well be my favorite compact car. With that glowing endorsement on the table, let's talk about what makes it so good.
Honestly, I've always liked the Mazda3, but the old car's smiley face looked a little goofy. Now in its third generation, the Mazda3 has matured. It hasn't lost its youthful charm, mind you, it just presents a more modern and sophisticated image, kind of like a little Mazda 6. Sporting a longer wheelbase, wider track, and a lighter yet 30% stiffer body, the Mazda 3 can be had as either a sedan or a $500 pricier hatchback. Interior dimensions are virtually the same in each, except when it comes to cargo space, where more than 20 cubic feet of hatchback space bests the sedan's comparatively puny 12.4 cubic foot trunk. Move forward, and we find a simple black cabin featuring high-quality materials and graceful lines that echo the exterior. From the driver's seat, you might notice the gauge cluster's small text and what is quite possibly the tiniest rev counter in history. Gauge legibility aside, the interior is highly functional, with unambiguous climate controls, a manageable number of easily distinguished steering wheel buttons, and an optional infotainment system that politely lets users control it with either the touchscreen or this all-powerful knob. With either method, navigating the system is easy, while Bluetooth phone pairing is quick and painless. As a bonus, higher trims incorporate 2 USB outlets instead of 1, reducing the chance you'll run out of power before posting that hilarious Facebook update about Hump Day. Ah, Wednesdays. Among these stranger details are an oddly located volume knob and the shape of the nav screen itself. It really seems like you ought to be able to pop it out for home use. Note, do not attempt to rip the nav screen out of your Mazda. Total passenger volume is about the same as the old Mazda 3, but increased shoulder space makes the front seats feel roomier, while the car's rising beltline makes the rear quarters seem tighter than they actually are. For scale, I'm a completely average 5'10" and can sit in all the rear positions without hitting my head, but just barely. So how does the Mazda compare to its competitors? It has more passenger space and total legroom than an Elantra, more front and rear headroom than a Jetta or Corolla, but less total legroom than each, and less front but more rear headroom than a Sentra, while again offering less legroom. Basically, if legroom is your prime concern, then a Sentra, Jetta, or Corolla is probably the play. If general roominess is what you're after, then the Mazda 3 can definitely hold its own. All this talk about the Mazda 3, and we haven't yet talked about how it drives.
In all the ways that matter, driving the Mazda 3 is pretty fantastic. The steering is direct and responsive. When you're driving in a straight line, it feels good and stable. The wind and road noise, nicely controlled. And even though you might think, with all the sportiness that's implied in being a Mazda, that the ride would be harsh, it really isn't. So apologize to the Mazda 3 for thinking those terrible things about it. If you decide to push it, you'll notice that the 16-inch Yokohama tires that come on the I models don't have a ton of grip, so you might find the tires squealing a bit more than you'd like. If you have big sporting ambitions, just throw on some new rubber. If you're just making trips to Trader Joe's, these ought to do just fine. If you're considering buying a Mazda 3 and you're not sure if you should go with the manual or the automatic, consider the manual. It's actually got a very nice, light, easy to operate clutch, and the shifter is typical Mazda fantastic, almost MX-5-ish in its short throws and nice engagement.
And not to be overlooked in the overall driving experience are lovely front seats that manage to be both soft and supportive. Powering all Mazda 3 i trims is the previous car's 2-liter inline 4-cylinder. With its 155 horsepower output achieved at 6,000 RPM, you need to rev it to really get moving. But for normal driving, it works fine while returning 40 mpg on the highway with a standard 6-speed manual transmission and 41 with the optional 6-speed automatic. If you've got the need for speed but can't wait for a Mazda Speed 3, consider the 184 horsepower 2.5-liter found in the Mazda 3 S trims, as well as its Mazda 6 and CX-5 siblings. Sadly, the 2.5-liter only comes with a 6-speed automatic, which is a bummer if you like power and shifting for yourself. Though less efficient than the base engine, the 2.5-liter Grand Touring trim's optional i-E-Loop system improves efficiency to within spitting distance of the 2-liter. Speaking of IE loop, this inelegantly named technology uses a special alternator to charge a capacitor that then distributes power to various vehicle systems, helping improve real-world fuel economy by up to 5%. There are cheaper compact cars, but considering its solid resale values and what you get for the money, the Mazda 3 is a good value. For less than $18,000, including destination, the base sedan includes air conditioning, a tilting telescoping steering column, push-button start, a variety of power assists, stability and traction controls, and 6 airbags. Among the standout options are blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, a nice-sounding Bose audio system, lane departure warning, adaptive radar cruise control, and smart city brake support that automatically applies the vehicle's brakes to mitigate potential low-speed impacts. Just remember, adding all those features results in a nearly $30,000 Mazda 3.
You can usually only tell the best times in life after the fact, so it may not seem obvious, but this is a golden era for compact car buyers. There's a ton of great choices for every taste, and they're all really good too.
Are you a legroom aficionado? Consider the Toyota Corolla or Nissan Sentra. Do you seek pragmatism wrapped in a mainstream persona? Well, the Honda Civic has that base covered. Does ride comfort top your list of desires? Maybe you should check out the Chevy Cruze. Depending on your specific tastes, the Ford Focus, Hyundai Elantra, or Kia Forte might also be the best choice.
Then again, maybe you're like me. Maybe you want a car that's personable, beautiful, uncomplicated, and encourages you to feel human emotions behind the wheel. If any of that sounds good, maybe the Mazda 3 is the right car for you. I know if I was in the market for a compact car, it'd make my short list.